Several things we want to be sure you're able to articulate the rationale for and the key components of adult career pathways. So kind of zooming out with this webinar and starting with some big picture things to be sure everyone's on the same page as we move forward into this work. Which we'll share some examples of ACP programming in Minnesota. That's where Penny and Allison come in. And then finding some tools and resources at the Atlas website. Liz will be helping us look through those. And of course, lots of you have already interacted with those materials and perhaps helped us develop some of the materials on the website. You'll also learn how to join the networking Schoology group if you have not yet, where we can stay connected throughout the year with questions and resources and ideas and sounding boards for each other around this very complex work of adult career pathways in Minnesota. So that is our plan. We'll also be sure you know about some future events. By the end of the webinar, there'll be some things coming up that you'll want to be sure and put in your calendar. So that is the plan for today, and I'm going to hand it over to Julie Dinkout to take us into this next section. Julie.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. So basically, why do we need adult career pathways in adult basic education? In a very, very simple sentence, it's to help our students reach family sustainable wages and careers. And you can go to the next slide. And a very simple way to think of adult career pathways is if you think of occupational training, contextualized basic skill instruction, and then the navigation and support services. And together they equal student success. And by providing concurrent and contextualized training, we shorten a student's path. And by providing the navigation and support services, they're more likely to complete and move on in their career goals. We'll take a look at the federal WIOA definition of adult career pathways later in the webinar, but this is just an easy way to think of what is an adult career pathway. Let's look at a brief video from Metro North that illustrates how the workforce, college, and ABE systems are working together to offer students a variety of career pathway options.
Okay, this is Heather, and I am going to be launching this video. I'm hoping you can bear with the technology if it's not working, but I believe it is working.
Yep, it's working.
Looks good, Heather. Just remember to hit play there, and hopefully everyone will be able to see and hear it. Thanks, everyone. There could be a slight delay with the buffering. We'll just ask for your patience. Oh, Heather, I'm actually not hearing the sound. Do you want to pause it for a second and we'll figure it out? We're new to playing a video on a webinar. You're here with us as we're exploring this new frontier. So hold on, everybody. Okay. Let's be sure everyone's sound is up, Heather, on your end, and that you're not muted or anything. And in the activities tab that's open. And the sound is up.
One moment, I'm going to begin it again if you guys don't mind.
No, not at all. Yeah. Let's just be sure it works. Thanks, everybody. Oh, yeah, there's still no sound on that. Let's see.
Center and as far north as St. Francis.
I will check one more time.
Actually, I think it just started. Try it. Hit play right now. Yeah, okay, I think it's just buffering. Try it one more time. Just hit play right from here.
Okay.
for some pretty technical skills. So there's a lot of communication right now.
Hi, everyone. I guess people are not able to hear the sound. Is it working now?
Let's move on, Heather. I think we're having trouble with the buffering.
Okay, I apologize. I worked on this yesterday and it was just perfect. And technology always requires us to have a plan B. And my plan B is that you have access to this video in the materials section. And for those of you who join the ACP Schoology group, you'll also have access to the video. It's a wonderful video from Metro North, and it's incorporating how they are using adult career pathways, but with the very different organizations. They're using the Workforce Center, Career Force, and they're also using ABE programming, as well as bringing in with their community and technical colleges. So again, I apologize that our technology on our end is not working, but we will have the materials in the video, the video in the materials section and in the Schoology group. The video is very short. It's less than 4 minutes, but it does a wonderful job of highlighting what we do in ABE to advance students into their careers and further educational opportunities. I'd like to point out that in the screenshot right here, you can see one of our Adult Career Pathways PD team specialist, Cindy Secord, is out of Metro North, and she is highlighted in the video and does a wonderful job working with career pathways. So again, sorry for the technology glitch, but we will move forward, and in the future you can look at the video in the materials section. I'm going to turn it back to Julie, and she can discuss some of the Adult Career Pathway Glossary definitions.
Thank you, Heather. And I just want to reiterate that that particular video was selected because it does an excellent job of highlighting the number of partners that are involved and need to be involved when you're developing adult career pathways. So if you get a chance, please do go back and look at it. Now on to a few adult career pathway definitions. Just so you know, there is a glossary of adult career pathway terms in the materials section of this webinar, and it's also on the Atlas ABE ACP resources section of the web page. So one term you may or may not hear frequently is on-ramp. And on-ramp is a term that's being used, I think, more and more. However, the interpretation of on-ramp varies depending on who you're asking. It's included in here because the Department of Employment and Economic Development put out a Pathways to Prosperity request for proposal. Those are grants that adult basic education is often involved with, and they have on-ramp as one of the options or areas you can focus on. So the definition is here, but I'm just kind of giving you a heads up that people interpret on-ramp differently throughout Minnesota. Bridge course is another term, and it's a little more defined. Usually when you refer to a bridge course, most people realize that it's bridging or preparing an adult basic education learner to move on to a post-secondary training program. And we have a lot of bridge courses throughout Minnesota. And then finally, IET is Integrated Education and Training. And this is a term that is in the federal law, and it's now an official adult basic education activity. And it's, again, providing contextual adult basic education skills with training. These are all common terms that you will use. Just again, a heads up that on-ramp is still kind of being defined in Minnesota, but IET is definitely, there's a federal definition, and bridge is a pretty defined term as well.
Thanks for the clarification, Julie. And again, as she mentioned, we do have a PDF of the Adult Career Pathways Glossary in the materials section. You can also find it at the Atlas website, and it's also located in the Schoology user group. For those of us who might be new to career pathways, with all of the acronyms and jargon, it's nice to have someplace to go to figure out what everything is. Julie did a great job of explaining some of those terms. We have a graphic here that might help you understand how they all can work together for a fully developed adult career pathway. This is a wonderful example that the Atlas consultant Liz Andrus created a few years ago. I'd like to point out that many programs do not have a fully fleshed out adult career pathway program like this, but it's can show you a place where you can begin. So many programs might begin with, let's look at what the employment gap is. So what is the career sectors that are needing more workers in your area? When you've done that sort of survey with the labor market information, then you could perhaps start that on-ramp class. Very low level, and many times it's called an introduction class. It's making students aware of the vocabulary and perhaps the laddering that's needed to move up into a career. They maybe explore different careers. They are also learning the necessary requirements to get into a career. From that, many programs then might move on to making that bridge class. So you're working on those basic skills, which we do very well in adult basic education. You're bringing in the TIF, which is the Transitions Integration Framework, all of those ACEs skills, as well as more career knowledge. This is what a lot of people might say is that 2-4-1 aspect of career pathway development. From there, a student could then move on to a community college, and they're still receiving that adult basic education support, but they could be going on to get a certificate. From there, a student could then possibly move on to be getting an advanced degree, again from that community college. So you can see that pathway moves the student along to get into that career. Many programs, again, do not have this fully fleshed out or all together, but we can begin with an on-ramp or a bridge course. Throughout all of this, you can see that students can move into entry-level employment or into becoming certified in that field. That usually does not happen at the lower levels of the bridge or on-ramp courses. That usually happens in a higher level, but it can happen any place. Along the way, at the lower levels, we're bringing in those additional basic skill classes. Students might need more numeracy or more reading or literacy. Many of the times they need more digital technology. A student most likely is not going to take one class and immediately go to the next class. They'll be needing more of the basic skills. Again, that's what we do best in adult basic education. And you can see we're providing the curriculum and instruction at those various levels. At the community or technical college, that's when male students are going to be getting their credentialed courses. They're earning credits in their field. Throughout all of this work, that is where that navigation and student support comes in. That is going to be helping students be successful as they move along the pathway to that entry-level employment or that credentialed course. Throughout all of this, we are getting information from the workforce. So this might mean that we are going out speaking to the employers. We're speaking to the colleges. What are the skills that students need to know and be able to do to get into that field? So you can see there are many working components. Some of the components we already do in adult basic education. Other components are left to the community colleges. Some ABE programs have those navigation and student support services, but this is what a fully, for lack of a better term, fully fleshed out or fully realized adult career pathway looks like. What I'd like to highlight, and I think all of us on the adult career pathway team, is to say you don't need to think you have to have everything in place to move forward with career pathway programming. Find a place where you can begin, and it could be at that on-ramp, the bridge course, or even beginning to contextualize your adult basic education curriculum. We'll be going back, looking at some of what our colleagues have done around the state. They have wonderful ideas, but right now we'd like to know, what are you doing in your area of career pathway programming in Minnesota? We would like you to use the chat feature in the GoTo training. So if you could take a moment, let us know what adult career pathway programming areas are you involved in, specifically perhaps in your program, or perhaps in your region that you know of. It's a good way for us to get an idea of what's happening around the state. We'll be reading out what you are typing in the chat. Liz is pointing out that it's pretty common that a program starts with a bridge and then figures out how to move down levels to that on-ramp, or then move up levels toward that career pathway programming. And thanks, Liz, for sharing that. I'm wondering if others can share what is happening in their program or their region, maybe what career sectors you're working on, or what sort of career pathway programming you have happening. So move towards the chat feature and just type it in, and it's a way for us to see what's happening around the state. Yes, Patsy wants to hear from all of you who are present at this webinar today. All right, I'm waiting to see if anyone can let us know what's happening in their area. You could, let's see, Karen Walters. Thank you, Karen, for joining us. It looks like in Mankato, we are offering both an on-ramp bridge and integrated in the industries of manufacturing and healthcare. That's great to know, Karen. Who else? We have Cindy, thanks. You're highlighted in that Metro North video. So Metro North is changing precision, what was it? It is precision sheet metal to machine operating training. Great. So you're working in manufacturing. Allison, thank you. Over at Metro South, you started a bridge and then added into the intro class later. Wonderful. Laura, welcome. CLBW is working on offering hybrid training in ServSafe, CNA, construction, and researching additional possibilities. That is fantastic. Liz, welcome. Elizabeth, we provide literacy and math tutoring and classes for students who need to raise their TABE scores to enroll in our on-site employment trainings. And this is over at American Indian OIC. We have warehouse logistics, construction equipment operator, IT support, healthcare, administration, digital marketing. Great. Teresa Zingering, you have food service and driver's ed, and that's up in Osseo, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's where you're located. Karen Walters, again, thanks for letting us know what's happening in Mankato. In the on-ramp in Mankato, we do ServSafe, North Star, ParaPro, and some customer service beginning level certificates. That's fantastic. Eric, welcome. Down in Rosemont, Apple Valley, Egan, we offer a soldering certificate program with DC. I think that's Dakota County Technical College. Goodwill Easter Seals. Fantastic. Melissa, welcome. Up in Moorhead, you're offering a pre-CNA course with your P2P grant. Congrats on the grant. Teresa, thanks. In Metro North, okay, sorry about that, not Osseo. Metro North is working on the machine operator. Great. So thanks to you all. We can see there's a lot of things happening. At the end of this webinar, we'll have many of you try to go into our Schoology user group over the weekend or next week so that you can be posting what's happening around the field. Angela, welcome. In my own program at Minneapolis Adult Ed, we are working with employers to on making efforts to develop career pathways in printing industry, the pipe industry, paid drivers in CDL, and facility maintenance. Lots of work happening in Minneapolis and all around the state. So thank you for letting us know what is happening in your area. If some of you want to chat out later, we can. Penny, yes, Albert Lee down south. You're working on CNA with your community college. WDI, which is your workforce area, male and local business and community agencies. So you can see all of those relationship building opportunities that are expanding career pathways in your area. Thanks everyone for letting us know what's happening. We're going to be taking a moment to look specifically at what Penny is doing down in Albert Lea and what Allison is doing in Bloomington or Metro South. I think it's best that we hear from the field. So we want to get a snapshot of what's happening in the field. I'm going to have Julie give us a little bit of background about this. I'll turn it over to you, Julie.
Okay. I didn't know I was providing background, sorry. Background on voices from the field?
Yeah, it's okay. I can take this over, Julie. It's just fine.
Okay.
But we know that Minnesota ABE programs and practitioners have been involved in the delivery of adult career pathways, or ACP, for over a decade now, starting with our first fast track initiative. There are a variety of factors at the state and local level that have made this work challenging at times, but those of you who have been involved in implementation know that ACPs can make a real difference for students, and it's always focused on the students. Now we're going to be hearing from two programs, as I mentioned, one large program, which is Allison at Metro South, and one small program, which is Penny and Albert Lea or Southeast ABE, about their career pathway work. We're going to learn how they got started, the benefits that they've seen, the lessons they've learned, and advice for you all attending this webinar on how to get started. So we're going to turn this over to our friend Penny, who is the coordinator of adult basic education out of Albert Lea. She's part of Southeast ABE. And Penny, I'll just let you move forward and I can advance the slides for you. Thank you in advance.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. This is Penny. If you want to go ahead, Allison, and move to the next slide. I mean, Heather. So when we were meeting about this, I just thought it was important for everyone to realize that everyone can do this. As the slide says, I'm a pretty small program. I'm part of a Southeast ABE consortium. But here in Albert Lea, last year, and just like with everyone, this has been last year was one of my lower years because I have a lot of my students working. But we served, as you can see, 213 students. I had a little over 18,000 contact hours, and ESL accounts for 75% of my students. We have 10 total staff, and we are all part-time, so none of us work full-time. So I think that was just really important to put in context that, we're not necessarily like all the bigger programs, that we are smaller, and we're not 12 months either. We actually take 2 months off in the summer. So we close down pretty much mid-June through July, and then we open up again late August. So kind of a 10-month. So I just kind of wanted to give you a little background about that. I know when I started this, it was a little overwhelming for me because some of these programs and the bigger, they have like lots of full-time staff, and it's a little overwhelming, but it was just something that I knew we had to do, and it was really important. So Heather, if you could go to the next slide. So this is what we have learned this is what our learners have benefited. Many of our learners have attained or retained employment. One of the things that we are also looking at is many of our students have jobs, and just like you guys, I'm assuming, so we're looking at how can they not either retain their job, but maybe what are some skills that we could help improve so they could move up to management or just get a better paying job. Again, as Julie said in the beginning, it's to help improve family finances. Many of our students, of course, they're going to learn new skills. One of the things I think a byproduct is enhanced self-esteem. We all know when our students learn something new or they accomplish a skill, you can just kind of see that look on their face. So we thought it would be really good to just kind of mention that, because I think that is a big part of learning the new skill. We also have noticed that it's a support system for one another. When our students have spent a lot of time in class together, whether it's a regular class or one of our adult career pathway classes, they really spend a lot of time outside of class. They share phone numbers, they offer each other support, which I think we all know that relationships is really key. We have students who call if they haven't seen their student partner be in class, so that's been another really big benefit. And then we benefit from our community. Like I said, many of our students are employed within our community, and we all know the work shortage, so it's really been a big benefit. Many of our students are buying homes in Albert Lea, so as they are really a contributing member of our community. Next screen, Heather, please. So how did we begin? So our workforce was awarded a P2P grant in 2015. We were written in. Our relationship probably wasn't as good as it was that it is now. And I'm sure we have all had experiences where we are partners with the grant, but really we were written in and then we were told about it later. So what we did was the paraprofessional training. And I want to take one step back. I think one of the things that Heather has said, and I know Liz has said a lot too, when you look at my career pathways, they are not fully developed career pathways, but I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So as you can see, the paraprofessional training. So we started out with our P2P grant, and we ran 3 classes. And what we found is, of course, the first class we had 30, the second class we had 25, and then the third class we had like 10. So we really realized quickly that, when you're looking at this, you want to run it, but you notice that it kind of needs to take a break. So we have not ran another paraprofessional class. We didn't run one last year, and we're not running one this year, but we'll probably look at it again next year. But out of all those students, 75% of people retained jobs in our district or in other districts. And then what that led to is we are probably one of the few districts in Minnesota that does not require their para educators to have the para pro certificate. So our district came to us for staff development, and we trained and did our training with 93 of our paras in our district. So another, great relationship that way. And then our workforce development also was awarded a Southeast Asian grant. So we worked with them and did driver's training. Again, not a fully developed career pathways, but again, if they don't have a driver's license, they can't get to their job, they can't attend school. So again, just another small piece of that. And then we were asked by our local community college to teach developmental math. So we are currently doing that. And we're continuing to do that. And then another thing we did is we just asked our students, what do they want to learn? What are some skills that they think they could learn? Sewing came up. So we partnered with one of our local community businesses. He let us borrow 10 sewing machines, and we had a person on staff who could teach sewing, and they loved it. We ran 3 classes of that, and they made a tote bag. So we had men and women take those classes, and then another CPR and first aid was a really big thing that our students asked for. And again, CPR and first aid is one of those that for many career pathways they're going to need. So again, kind of just a small step. And then another reason why we began is it's part of our content standards. It's part of where ABE is going. So we think that's important. And then another thing we are doing as our consortium is we are using transition funds, and we did a healthcare careers exploration. So kind of we're kind of that on bridge, like what are the things out there? What would people be interested kind of, so we could figure out what our students would like to do. Heather, next slide, please. So what would my advice for other programs be? Just start. I mean, as you can see, I do not have a fully developed career pathways, but one thing I do want to stress is, so we have been doing our developmental math class with our community college for a couple of years. We had a meeting with them 4 or 5 years ago about how we could do their developmental English, different things like that. We still haven't gotten far with that. But what happened yesterday was we met with our local workforce, our community college, Mayo Health Systems came in, and we finally had and Rochester Technical College came in, and we actually are starting the process, being very intentional to do a fully developed career pathways in the healthcare field. It's taken a long time. It's taking numerous staff changes. There's another new vice president at our community college, which I know everyone experiences. But it took a lot of work, and if we would have had to start fresh, it would have taken lots longer. Our goal then is to start, we're going to plan this year and actually start it next year. We're going to be realistic. We want to do it right. So we've already started to get the partners in. And so that's, I guess, kind of why I started with that. If you look at the next plans, be intentional. They just don't happen. Like I said, we have been working with these partners for many years. And so we are going to be intentional. We're going to do this right. Plan with partners. When Rochester, we're basically replicating their Bridges to Healthcare, and that's what Rochester and the legislature and people want. If that program is so successful, it needs to be replicated. So that's where we're starting. So we're actually taking a lot of their ideas. Again, definition of the career pathway, so you kind of know you're on the right path. Use existing resources. Rochester is sharing articulation agreements with us. Their teachers are sharing their resources. Atlas has all the resources. Reach out to others in the field. There is hope out there. I got an email yesterday asking about our sewing classes. I just think it's really, really important to know that there is people out there, especially out in rural Minnesota. In the cities, it's, you can go to different, but in rural, with all of our different technologies and stuff, it is easier to reach out to people. It's okay to make mistakes. We have made lots of mistakes. But you know what? It makes us better. It makes us look at our program. And like I said, it's okay to start small. If you looked at all of mine, I did start small, but I'm kind of excited. By next year, I'm hoping to actually have a fully developed career pathways in healthcare. But at that meeting yesterday there was probably 15 of us in the room. Many of the Rochester Technical staff was there and stuff, and they all said the same thing. Start small and start with a very specific program, and they all recommended CNA because it's a short-term certificate, but once you have that, you can move on. So it was really encouraging to listen to our partners, and they were very helpful with thinking about ways to help us, and they were so willing to help us. So it was really good. But again, if you looked at mine, I started really small, and it's taken me a long time, but we still benefit many students. Heather, next slide, please. So what have I found to be the most helpful? I did take Liz's Adult Career Pathway Program Development Cohort, and that was very, very valuable to me. I learned a lot. There's lots of resources in the book. Again, we were partnered with people. There were other people in our community and in our state that we could. So that was really helpful to me. Atlas, the resource library. others in the field and MDE staff, I have reached out to numerous people asking what they've done. I've asked even like Julie or Astrid or Patsy or Heather. I mean, I've really asked questions. One of the things that we took in the ACP program was the links course, Engaging Employers in Adult Career Pathways. It's a really nice short course. It lays out a lot of different paths we can take and how to reach employers. I think that's sometimes one of the key things we're missing is the employers, because I think that we need to get their buy-in. Of course, then what we all usually go do, Summer Institute regionals, the regional transitions coordinators, and then again, your partners, the career force, employers, Chamber of Commerce, community college, school district. One thing I just want to talk about, I am very, very fortunate to have a really good relationship with my workforce development. If you are not there, I think that's okay, but what I did to start that relationship is I just had her come over and I introduced myself and we talked for like 10, 15 minutes. I didn't send out this big agenda or whatever. It was just kind of like, hi, this is come over and see what we do. So again, I think it's okay to start small and to just really work with those relationships. And again, learn from trying and doing. After every parapro, after every driver's training, after every class, we look down what went well, what didn't go well. We get student feedback, and it's just like our classes, it's just like our teachers. We learn from doing, and we just need to, if things aren't going well, we change it to make it better. So that's kind of where I am. Again, I think the main thing is it's okay to just start, pick something, and there's lots of resources out there for people.
Thank you, Penny, so much. I'd like to point out that Liz had a great idea. She thought it was wonderful that you have this replication of other successful career pathway programming, so you don't need to start from scratch. You can be replicating, for example, you said you were doing what they were doing in Rochester. That's wonderful. Astrid says that it's really great advice that you're giving and sharing. Laura says that that's why we're striving to offer these trainings to help our students. I think what I heard from you is the idea of start small, take that first leap, bring in your partners, build relationships. Some of the resources that you pointed out will be getting a tour of the Atlas ACP resource library in a few minutes. That links course that you referenced, Engaging Employers in Adult Career Pathways, the link to that course, if anyone on the webinar would like to take it, is in the materials section. We also have in the materials section a list of some of the adult career pathway related activities, could be in the regionals or future activities in that materials section. So thank you so much, Penny, for sharing your steps that you've done and your advice. We're going to hear from someone in a different program. We now have Allison Wilcox. She's the Career Pathways Coordinator, and she's also an ESL instructor at Metro South ABE. I'm going to turn this over to you, Allison, and then I can advance the slides for you. So thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes,
hello?
We hear you just fine.
Okay, just wanted to double check. So hello, everyone. I'm a Career Pathways coordinator for Metro South, and we are located in Bloomington. I was also an ESL instructor, so that was helpful to provide curriculum help to teachers. You can advance. Our program is fairly large, and we started our ACP program in 2011, about 8 years ago. I started about 2.5 years ago, so the program was running for a while before I got here, and we did have about 4 or 5 classes before I got here, and then it kind of grew a little bit more. And now we have 9 classes in 4 different kinds of career cluster areas. Career development, that really isn't a career cluster, but we include that area because we have our Computers for Work class, And we also have basic computer skills, and we have ESL and career development. So we kind of put that into that category. In transportation, we have CDL class. In healthcare, we have a number of classes, which I will cover in a minute. And in business, we have one class is called office support. Okay, next one, Heather. Before I begin, I just want to acknowledge Penny for covering a lot of really good information that is the same kinds of struggles and the same kinds of benefits that we see for learners. Thank you for covering that, Penny, because that is very much what we see here as well at Metro South. But I just want to give you I'm going to go through these kind of quickly. You can also access them after the webinar, but I wanted to just quickly give you an overview of our past 3 years. The chart on the left is our navigator services. So we do have, every year we have a new navigator through the Minnesota Opportunity Corps, and that person provides services for our students. You can see the information, the data there for all our students in the past 3 years. And I kind of highlighted jobs obtained. There were 78 jobs, and about 30% of those were living wage jobs. That's according to the MIT Living Wage Calculator. So kind of a data geek, and a lot of that data also was collected through Minnesota Opportunity Corps. So we do have an impact, hopefully, by using navigator services. On the right, you can see a chart which shows over the past 3 years the number of participants and contact hours. So just so you get a picture of how many students we're serving. You can see that in 2017, we almost doubled our participants and increased our contact hours. Because we added 2 phlebotomy classes, a CDL class, and a construction class. However, our ESL and career development class did move from our day class, which was 16 hours a week, to an evening class. It was only 6 hours a week. So we are serving more students, but there are fewer hours. In 2018, we reduced the number of participants, or we saw a reduction because we thought that there were more students working. Just as Penny said, we think that it's a pretty tight labor market, so it's harder for students to take the classes sometimes. Okay, next one. Thank you. Learner benefits last year, basically you can see the chart on the right. These are career navigator services for only our career pathway students, and you can kind of get a feel for our students' preparedness for work and assistance. Basically, we can see that career navigation services here. What we see here is that we do see students better prepared for the workplace, and they also can experience some good outcomes from having that navigation. Also, we see total measurable skills gains was 48% above the targets. And so basically that's kind of telling us that our students still are learning with their literacy. Having career classes does, I think, impact also their literacy levels and their outcomes with skills gains. And due to we were in the 2017-18 ACP program development cohort. Kelly and I were in that, and it was a really, really great experience. And one of the goals that we had were building enrollment and retention. And then we saw last year that we maintained or surpassed our expectations for participant numbers in all our career pathway classes, except for NA Prep. And we also had a retention rate of about 77%. And that was due to our goals because we tried to create more demand for the classes. I can go into detail. I don't know if there's time to go into detail, but we had these goals that really we set out, and we were able to, we see that we have better retention and participant numbers now. So I'll just leave it at that. And also we had a career fair We started that, and last year was the second year. Okay. Learner benefits, you can see on the right that every year most of our classes are funded through IELCE IET grant, civics grant, and the final report, you can see kind of a simplified version of how many people completed the class, what certificates were earned, and other benchmarks. It's just kind of an example of how we keep track of how do we know students are, how many certificates are earned and things like that. So basically this report only covers the civics grant classes, but we do collect data for the other classes like Computers for Work, funded in other ways. Okay, you can go to the next one. Sorry, I'm kind of rushing through. Beginnings in healthcare pathways. On the right, you can see some of our healthcare classes. The top one is medical terminology. The middle picture is phlebotomy, and the bottom picture is kind of a piloted CNA class that we started last year. You can see on, I have sort of a chart, healthcare pathways chart. We kind of created this because, number one, I needed to figure out how our classes fitted better into other post-secondary training or other training options and jobs, and to guide students so that they knew they were on a path and what their options were. In this chart, you can see the growth rate and the salary per hour if you get a job or complete a program. But we do highlight that a high school diploma is necessary for advanced training and jobs. So basically, you can see on the chart, there are little yellow circles and there's a number. So you can see number 1 is the NA prep class. We started with that one. That's a bridge class. That was really successful. And then we added number 2, which is medical terminology. That's also I consider a bridge class. And that fits very well into Hennepin Technical College programs. Number 3, the third class we added was the phlebotomy class, and that is considered either a bridge, since that fits into HTC programs, or an IET, which is really technical training so they can go get a job as a phlebotomist. And number 4, we added introduction to healthcare. So we kind of backtracked and said, wait a minute, we aren't preparing these lower learners to better prepare for our bridge classes. So we added that one last year, and that's been really successful. And finally, number 5 is we added basically the NAR class, which is the same as CNA. And that one is, we have our own class this year. We're going to run for the first time. So you can kind of see how things fit together there. If you have any questions at the end, you can ask me about that. And that is located in the material resources sections, along with a list of all of our classes and brochure. Okay. Lessons learned and key advice, as Penny had mentioned, and a lot of people know this, to start small. Like we did with our NA prep class, and it's okay to try out ideas, to pilot a class. So the first time we have a class, we don't, we just kind of tweak things, and it's okay if it's not perfect, because each year, if we want to continue, we just develop the class better and better, and make more connections with our partners. Finally, find support from others who are, as we're doing today, including your grant partners, if you have partners in your grants. Funding, most of our classes come from the civics grant. It's now a 3-year grant cycle. We've also used regional transition funds for, especially for piloting classes. And there are other funding options. For example, I hear a lot of people have P2P grants. And also school districts. Our school district helps us fund a spring CDL class, and our civics grants funds the fall CDL class. So that's been really successful to have our school district help pay for the the spring class. And add career navigation if possible, because we do see a lot of good outcomes. Students really need that one-to-one kind of assistance, since each person is in a unique situation. They have lots of questions. I try to help if I can as well. And so our member comes from AmeriCorps, Minnesota Opportunity Corps, and that link will get you right to apply to the site. It's about $8,000 a year to support a member at your site. Or you can go to Minnesota Literacy Council and look at their navigation program startup handbook, which is like showing you how to start volunteers as navigators. And there's a link there. Finally, I'm not going to go through the details about this, but these are kind of the areas in terms that we focus on for building a larger career pathway program. First of all, choose the industry pathways, knowing your students and regional employment needs. Basically, we did look at DEED's labor market information, and there is a chart in the materials section of this webinar that shows the healthcare. And it does cover all of Minnesota. So that was very helpful from DEED to put together that PowerPoint. So if you're from anywhere in Minnesota and you want to start healthcare, I encourage you to look at that. It's been very helpful to get more information. I think it's great if you can show students their options and how to get stackable training that leads to living wage jobs. So we really try to focus on pathways that are at least that students earn at least $15 an hour. And we do reference the tipping point study in our orientation, and we created pathway charts. Scheduling and enrollment processes, you can just keep in mind with that. There's marketing, data tracking, basically who will track the data. That's really important for getting grants. Partnering with employees in career force, we've done some of that as best as we can, and partner with post-secondary schools in many different ways. There are many ways to do that. Okay, I think there's one more slide. I thought there are so many good tools through Atlas and through this group, but I think some of my favorite ones were the ACP program development cohort that was about 8 months, and we really learned a lot and set goals, and we just really fast forwarded our program because of that. Also, the resource library on adult career pathway resource library, we actually pulled the CDL curriculum and Intro to Healthcare curriculum out of that, and then we quickly launched a class. It's a great way to go. And then also finally the group Schoology site here that Heather has put together. I'm really excited to have a place where we can continually connect and learn and share more from each other. And I think that's it for me. I'm sorry it was so fast. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Allison, for sharing. You gave us many great ideas. And what I noticed both you and Penny were talking about is that ACP program development cohort and how useful that was. We have some materials for you in the materials section that can help you if you are not part of that cohort. Again, Allison, thanks for referencing the AmeriCorps or the Minnesota Opportunity Corps. A link for that is in your materials section. It's also in the ACP Schoology group. And I really appreciate your visual for your career pathway for the healthcare. Other people thought that it was a wonderful visual for students. I also included your career pathway program brochure in the materials section. So I just want to let people know everything you have provided and shared is wonderful, and it's all there. We are going to take a moment to allow those of you on the webinar to ask questions of our panelists. You can chat out questions or you could raise your hand. I'd like to point out that Angela says great info. Allison, thanks as always for sharing. Liz says I'll get Allison's visual and post it to the ACP online resource library. Thank you. Okay. Bergen, I think if you might have to click materials on the go to training panel to see all the materials section. Laura had a question, and I think this was directed to you, Allison, about, or Penny, did any of you create a survey? Or could you share a survey if you did create one to find out what were their students' interests in career pathway? Could you answer that question, Allison or Penny?
Yeah, this is Allison, and I know early on, before I got to my position, they did create surveys for students, and then I think what came out of that was particularly those service, like child development, nursing, those were very high interest areas, so we got started in those areas of offering that. And then this year, I'm making sure that at the end of every career pathway class, that is a question on the Google form that we ask every student. We're program-wide, they have this survey. Students will take the survey after the class to see how did they like the class and did it prepare them, and also did they have any other ideas for classes. So I hope to look at that at the end of the year.
And what about you, Penny? Any surveys?
What I did is I just had the teachers. So I have two teachers, and I just had them do an informal kind of survey and ask the students what types of classes, and that's where the first aid and CPR and sewing. But it was kind of interesting because other classes or things that came up were like accounting classes, and I think what they meant was like they want to know more about how to run a business or how to manage their money or how to start. We have many students who have left ABE and started their own business, especially restaurants or delis. So it was kind of interesting to see what the students came up with versus kind of what we thought they would say. So yes, it's definitely worth asking your students.
Great. And then a few of you said that you may have a survey to share. It would be wonderful if you could send it to me and or share it within the ACP Schoology group, because we do things really well in ABE because we share so much information. Astrid also shared information about the deed. Labor market information will be presented at both the North and the South regionals. We'll have more information towards the end of the webinar so that you can find out when and where these are. Allison says that she will share the student survey, and Angela in Minneapolis says that she has a survey to share. I'll reach out to those two so that we can be sharing this information. It's great to survey students, and I think, Penny, what you pointed out is perhaps what the labor market information points to might not be what the students want. For example, the LMI might not say, we need more restaurants or restaurant employees, but the students want to be their own entrepreneur and their own business people. I'm wondering if anyone else could raise their hand or chat out a question to our panelists. We'll wait for questions to come in before moving forward. And you do have the opportunity to raise the hand, okay. Or I'll just wait maybe another 5-10 seconds to see if any chat questions come through. Liz is going to be following up on some of those surveys, and she'll make sure to also post them in the Atlas ACP resource library. Laura says students have different needs, perspectives. Thank you all for listening and revising resources as needed. We truly appreciate all the effort. I agree with you, Laura. It's really appreciated, especially sharing your expertise. I'm going to move us forward. If there are any questions, feel free to chat them out and we can go back to them. I'm going to go back to Julie from MDE, and she's going to give us more of that official WIOA definition of an adult career pathway.
Thank you, Heather. This definition is the federal definition that's written in the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, that adult basic education is Title II in that act. And so if you want to just click on the first bullet there, thank you, Heather. The definition they provided, it means a combination of rigorous and high quality education, training, and other services. So an adult career pathway includes aligning with regional and local industry needs. And this is exactly what I think Heather was touching on, and also what Laura had mentioned about how do you work with what your learners want and need, and then also work with what industries in the area need. It's not just a simple, saying so-and-so has an employment sign outside their window, let's prepare them for jobs at that place. This is actually driven by your local workforce service areas and the local workforce development boards. And they have to put out a regional plan that highlights what are the industry needs in their region. And so Penny mentioned she's working with the Mayo Clinic. Well, the Mayo Clinic is one of the main contenders on their local workforce development board. So they do have influence in that region as far as what industry needs are. And obviously a lot of them down in that region are around healthcare. But then Allison said she also went to the labor market information at DEED, which is fantastic because they're renowned labor market people at DEED in Minnesota. They're actually looked at nationally as being on top of it and getting that information out in a usable form that people can access it and interpret it. So they're very helpful there as well. So that's what that means as far as aligning with regional and local industry needs. The next one is to prepare participants for secondary and post-secondary educational success. And when I think of this particular component, I think standards. That's really what it's getting at, is that we need to be embedding the standards into all the work we're doing and making sure that learners are prepared educationally and provided skills to succeed. The next one includes counseling supports. Again, I kind of chunk that out and I look at it as wraparound services and navigation are the supports we need to provide. The next one offers education, workforce preparation, and training concurrently. And that's really saying that it's no longer okay to have a learner enrolled into adult basic education for 3 years and then have them move into post-secondary training for another year or 2 years. I think we all know that basically doesn't happen. And so we need to offer both the academic educational piece along with the skills training. Next slide. Yep. And then it organizes education, training, and support services to accelerate advancement. Again, that's saying let's do it in combination. Let's not do a month of ABE and then a month of skills training. Let's do it together in maybe 6 weeks. And that's the acceleration piece of it. It's also so that they can advance on that career pathway into next modules or next steps to a higher paying wage. And enables participants to earn a high school diploma equivalent plus at least one post-secondary credential. And this is reference to the tipping point. It's really saying, they need that post-secondary credential in order to get them that family or livable sustaining wage. And that requires the post-secondary credential. And we're opening up the high school diploma piece. I mean, ideally, like I just heard that Tennessee or Kentucky has a program where not only are you going for your high school diploma, but you're also getting a secondary credential at the same time. And I think in Minnesota, we have a good opportunity for that with the adult diploma that's being offered now, if you're in a program that currently offers that. And then finally, I think it helps participants enter or advance within a specific occupation or occupational cluster. And that's basically, going from CNA to LPN to RN, the stepping stones piece, and it's not moving them from automotive into healthcare, etc. And that's it. That's the WIOA definition of an adult career pathway.
Thank you, Julie. I know it sometimes gets lost within those official definitions through OCTAE, but I think just hearing what people are doing around the state gives us a better idea of what adult career pathway is. What I'd like to do is move us along to show where you guys can all get some supports and how do you make it happen in your program. So I'm going to turn this over to Liz Andrus. She's our ACP consultant through Atlas, and she's going to give us an idea of where you can find some of these materials. Links and the materials are in the materials section of this webinar, but you can also find them in other areas. So I'm going to have Liz take over, and she's going to give us a tour of the Atlas website. Thank you, Liz.
All right, Liz, you should now be the presenter and able to share your screen. And we see it. Great, thank you.
All
Go right
right.
ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, good to see everybody or be with everybody today. And I'm aware, looking at the participant list, that we have people really steeped in adult career pathways, having participated in one of the cohorts in the last couple of years, and then we have people newer to the work. And so as we look at the resource library, I think for those of you who have been participants in one of the cohorts, it's nice to know that pretty much everything that we provided out in the cohorts is provided in the resource libraries if you can't find your copies. And then for all of those of you newer to the work, just a really great set of resources here. On the Atlas website, if you start at the home page, resources are available in the third major tab here. And once you get to resources, we've got 8 libraries, and ours is very clear. It's the Adult Career Pathways one here. They're in alphabetical order. And once you get to the Adult Career Pathways resource library, the navigation is here on the right-hand side, and we have a curriculum library. So if I click on the ACP course curricula, curricula are organized now by the sector. And so if you want to see, I think it was Allison who said they had an opportunity to do something in healthcare. She would have gone into this curriculum library, clicked on healthcare. They were being asked to do something, I can't actually remember, but if it was certified nursing assistant, she would have clicked on certified nursing assistant. And then in each of these, each curriculum that has been submitted by folks in the field in Minnesota or found from other resources have a little box here. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're working to improve these initial introductions, just so that it's a little bit clearer what you're getting. And then with each of them, you can click on View Resource, and each curriculum has a one-page summary, and the format is exactly the same. So you can see who it's for, what level it is, a brief description of the course itself, number of instructional hours, and then what's included in the curriculum, and a bit of evaluation about the strengths and any drawbacks or weaknesses in the curriculum as it's posted. And then each posting, next to Access Curriculum, you click on View Materials, and in most cases what you'll get then is access to organized materials in a Google Drive folder. Again, this has been the standard set in the 2 course design cohorts that we've run. We do have some things posted from prior to the cohorts. They're not nearly so lovely in terms of their organization, but we really have heard from the field that you want access to whatever has been developed. And then this is all view only. So what you need to do is then access this, move it onto your own drive, or download it, so that you're not messing with somebody's original files. So really, we've done a lot of work promoting this across the field. The standard now is always start here, and most often you'll find something that you'll need to take and modify and pay for some time for an instructor to contextualize it to your own program and setting. But that's how the curriculum resource library works, and a really great work by Marisa on the new website here, making this very easy to navigate. The other section is the program development tools, and here, for those of you newer to the work, the place that you would start is the Adult Career Pathways Basics. So here again, we have organize these tools by category of aspects of the program development process. And Heather wanted to be sure that you saw this Adult Career Pathways glossary, so that's under the basics. And then a Career Pathways checklist. And this is where we started in the cohorts, and everybody really found it useful. Julie just went through the 7 criteria of the definition, the official definition of career pathways. And this checklist helps you start to think programmatically about each of those 7 criteria, and if and how you're already doing that aspect of adult career pathways, and if and how you need to further develop that. So that's a really great starting point. And then a hefty resource with really, really helpful templates and guidelines and worksheets is the Career Pathways Toolkit. I've also pulled some of the most useful tools out of that and dropped them into the various sections of the program development resource library here, because the toolkit overall can just be a little bit overwhelming. But here again, you view the resource and you get a description, and then you get a link directly to the resource. One other that I wanted to show you, which I believe Penny referenced, is under employer engagement. And this, again, I would say for beginners is another really helpful thing, which is a links course on engaging employers. Here it is. So Engaging Employers in Adult Career Pathways online course. And the information is here, and then there's a note-taking guide to help you get the most out of that course. Highly recommended. So there again, you just think about what are your needs. There's some good stuff under strong enrollments, workforce partnerships. And again, this is your go-to, whether you remember the resource and want to go back and find it again, you want to share it out with people in your program, or if you're new, we hope that this is a really great place to go. And then the other note from me is a lot of you talked about programs that you're running now, and I'll be in touch with you to make sure that if you have established curriculum for those programs, that you're able to submit those to me for sharing out to the field through the resource library. I think that was mainly it. Heather, any other things that you wanted me to touch on?
Liz, I want to thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and what you have created in the Atlas website regarding adult career pathways. That link that you showed for the checklist is actually in the materials section of this webinar. Excuse me, and you can also find the link to the links course that you referenced, that Engaging Employers course, that is in the materials section of this webinar as well. So thank you so much for doing that. I'm just going to touch briefly, I've mentioned this a few times, that we have the Adult Career Pathways or ACP Schoology networking group. In the materials section, you can download the steps to join the group, and here you can be posting questions to the field. You can be sharing resources to the field. If you look on the right side of your screen, you can see I have different folders within that Schoology group containing the materials that are also available on the Atlas website. We just want to make sure you have many opportunities to get this information and all of the materials as needed. Some of you have joined the Schoology networking group. I recommend that if you haven't, that you do join the group. It's a great way to network and to share materials and knowledge. We'll be posting questions and other information. Here we go. Here is the information about how to join the ACP networking group. There is that access code within Schoology that you'll need. You'll also have to go within Schoology to update the notifications so that you can get notifications of when someone is posting a question or resources are posted. I can help you with that. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out after this and I can totally help you with that. Patsy is going to talk to us a little bit about this ACP Transitions PD Advisory Group. This is also in your material section.
Right, thanks, Heather. So just a shout out to all of the many experts that are helping us with this work this year. So many of you are here on the webinar, so thank you so much for joining us. Just so that you know, we are building on the expertise out there in the world in Minnesota doing this work, and many of them have joined us for this Transitions Professional Development Advisory Group this year. There is a list of who is involved with that, as well as their contact information in the materials, as Heather mentioned, and we're just so grateful for them, for their time and their expertise and their willingness to share how things are going in their programs, what's on tap, what they dream about as far as adult career pathways, and what kinds of partnerships are happening in their areas of the state. This is complex work. It is happening all over in very different ways and in different paces. And we've assembled a group really working through a range of different kind of circumstances to get this work off the ground or to strengthen the work that's already happening. So we're just grateful to those folks and eager to continue the work with them. Some of the things that this group is working on is putting together events like this. So thank you. There's a handful of ACP events we want to be sure you know about. The first, of course, was this webinar. Nicely done. You all made it. And then, of course, we have some fall regional events we want you to know about on the next slide. Just to be sure people are aware, coming up next week, we're in Walker, Minnesota for the North ABE regional event. We'll be at the Chase on the Lake. That event is Thursday afternoon through Friday. You can still register, but please do so soon. I believe registration closes later today. So you can find the flyer for that and find out what's going on at that event. There is a general session related to adult career pathways starting on Friday morning. and then additional sessions throughout the day, and then also Thursday afternoon and evening. So you'll want to be sure if you're in that area of the state to join us for that event. And then the South Regional coming up about a month later in Mankato. Again, a general session, and our thanks to our two people, kind of point people organizing those two events up north, Stephanie Durange, and in the south, Karen Walters, who are helping us to put those events together. So you'll be hearing from employers, from labor market information, from the state staff, other people involved with the work who can share insights in how to do it and do it well. And then a handful of other webinars coming up. This was the first one. The next one is coming up on the 3rd of December. Please note the time is in the afternoon. This one will focus on relationship building between ABE and local colleges. In January, we're doing a lot of these in the wintertime because we know it's sometimes hard to travel to an event, but webinars are a little easier to pull off. So you'll notice we're heavy in the winter here. In mid-December, we'll have one. Note the time is in the morning again, kind of going back and forth between morning and afternoon, hoping to catch those of you who have classroom duties so that you're able to join us. But the rest are on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The third one will focus on engaging employers and trade unions. And then we'll have another webinar in February and then another in May that is coming up after our large event on Friday, May 1st. So spend your May Day with us here in Roseville at MDE for an all-day Adult Career Pathways event. And the group that you saw on the roster is the group helping us to put that event together. So for the moment, let's mark your calendars for all of those. In fact, in Schoology, I believe you can already register for each of those webinars. And then, of course, put your calendar down for May 1st event here in the metro area. Anything you want to add, Heather, about those upcoming events before we close?
I wanted to let people know in the materials section, I put a lot of things in there just to have it at your fingertips, is a list of all of these activities related to adult career pathways. You could download that PDF, and there's clickable links for each of the webinars so that you could register today when it's fresh in your mind and you'll be getting notifications. There's also information about the North and the South regionals, but in the spring, we'll have our spring regionals, so there'll be more information. Most everything you can register at the Atlas website, as you said, Patsy.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's just what I wanted to point out. It's all in the materials section, and I'll be posting this also in that Schoology group, so I encourage you to join the Schoology group, and you can be getting all of this information.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah, we have just a few minutes in case anyone had some wrap-up questions. I'd like to point out that after this webinar, you'll be getting a short survey that will help us create better webinars for the future. Or if you have ideas for other webinars, it will take less than 5 minutes to do the survey evaluation that will come after this webinar, and you'll also be receiving it via email. Otherwise, I'd like to say thank you, and I will see you, I should say virtually, on December 3rd for our upcoming webinar. I'd like to give special shout outs to Liz for giving us a tour of the Atlas website. Also to Penny and Allison for sharing your great steps and advice on how to start adult career pathway programming in both large and small programs, in both urban and rural programming. It can happen, and as we know from hearing through the experts, they are making it happen in their regions.
Great. Thank you so much, Heather, and a shout out to Heather for all of her work in putting today's webinar together, as well as all of the subsequent ACP related activities this year. We'll stick around for a few minutes if people have questions. Otherwise, thanks so much, and we hope to see you in the webinar December 3rd. Bye-bye.